warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Iman Firdaus Maula Muhammad Ruslan. My metric number is 1202408.
Saya Nurul Fatin Sajidah binti Nizam, nombor metrik 1202396.
My name is Afifah Nursaidah binti Azmi. My metric number is 1202381.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Zulfa binti Muhammad Fazli and my metric number is 1202385. So today our group will present the law of negotiable instruments. So we proceed with the concept of negotiability. Negotiability is a form of transfer property, which is the ownership from one person to another in a document, evidencing a contractual obligation to pay money. There are four characteristics of negotiability. The first one is the instrument and the rights contained in it, where it is payable to bearer are transferred by mere delivery, or where it is payable to order by endorsement plus delivery. The second one is the holder who is in possession of the instrument can sue in his own name. And the third one is the debtor need not to be given notice of the transfer. And the last one is the transferee who has received in it good faith and for value gets a superior title and is therefore unaffected by previous defects. There are 10 negotiability instruments that are currently in use. It is include, first one is bills of exchange. It is a form of written promise that the person who takes the bill will be paid the amount stated in the bill when he presents it at proper place and time. The second one is checks. It is a bill of exchange drawn on a banker, payable on demand. The third one is a promissory notes. It is a document which contains a promise by the marker that he will pay a certain sum of amount. The fourth one is banker's checks. Banker's checks is a banker's draft or cashier's order is an order to pay a specified amount of money addressed by a banker to himself. And the fifth one is bank notes, which is a form of a banker's draft. Next, treasury bills. It is a promissory notes issued by the government to raise short-term loan. Share warrants, where shares in a public company are fully paid up, the company may issue a warrant stating that the bearer is entitled to the shares specified in the warrant. Dividend warrants is a document issued by a company directing its banker or bankers to pay to a named shareholder a specified sum of money, being the share of the declared dividend to which he is entitled. Debentures is a document given as acknowledgement of indebtedness. And the last one is traveller's checks. It is a form of banker's draft which enables the holder to draw cash on it. Next, we proceed to the nature of bills of exchange. The first one is an unconditional order. It means if the documents is conditional, so it is not bill of exchange. The second one is in writing. It includes printing, lithography, typewriting, and photography. And the third one is addressed by one person to another. And the fourth one is signed by the person giving it. Next, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay on demand or at a fixed or determinable future time a sum certain in money to the order of a specified person or to bearer. A bill of exchange must be supported by consideration. Next, capacity to contract by bill of exchange. In this characteristic, the person who is below age or 18 years and mentally disordered are not allowed to open current accounts as they are not liable or any bills that they may draw. Next, negotiation of bills. A bill is negotiated when it is transferred from one person to another in such manner as to constitute the transferee the holder of the bill. A bill payable to a bearer is negotiated by delivery. A bill payable to order is negotiated by the endorsement of the holder completed by delivery. Where the holder of a bill payable to his order transfers is for value without endorsing it, the transfer gives the transferee such title as the transferor had in the bill. and the transferee in addition acquires the right to have the endorsement of the transferor. In order to be valid acceptance of bill of exchange, there are a few conditions. The first one is must be written on the bill and be signed by drawer. The second one is must not be specified that the drawee will perform his promise by any means other than the payment of money. Not all bills need to be presented to the drawee for acceptance before payment. However, it is necessary where the bill is payable after sight, where the bill expressly states that it shall be presented for acceptance, where the bill is payable elsewhere other than at other place of residence of or business of the drawee. Next, we proceed to the endorsement. Endorsement has the effect of transferring the property in the bill to the transferee, involving liability on the part of the transferor, which is the endorser. And endorsement is necessary in order to negotiate other bills. So the condition for endorsement is must be written on the bill itself and signed by the endorser. Must be an endorsement of the entire bill, where the bill is payable to order or two or more payees or endorsers who are not partners. All must endorse unless the one endorsing has authority to endorse for the others. There are various types of endorsement. The first one is blank endorsement. It is specifies no endorsee. The second one is special endorsement. It specifies to the person to whom or to whose order the bill is to the payable. The third one is restrictive endorsement. It prohibits the further negotiation of the bill, or it states that it is a mere authority to deal with the bill as directed and is not a transfer of ownership of the bill. The fourth one is conditional endorsement. In this endorsement, payment is depend on a condition. And the last one is facultative endorsement. In this endorsement, the endorser waives some or all of his own legal rights. Delivery. A person is not liable on a bill unless he has signed and delivered it. Section 2 of the Bill of Exchange Act 1949 defines the word delivery as transfer of possession, actual or constructive, from one person to another.
Case law. Walter and Neri. It was held that as the transferor had every intention to transfer the bill, he could be required to endorse it. For example, in case study Ahmad and Sulin. Ahmad was the payer of a bill. He delivered it to Sulin, who had advanced money on the bill. Ahmad forgot to endorse the bill, and the absence of the endorsement was not noticed by Sulin. Subsequently, the bill was dishonored. So what Sulin needs to do? Sulin is advised that he has, by virtue of the transfer for value such title as Ahmad had the bill, he has also the right to have the endorsement of Ahmad. As we can see in section 31(4) of the Bill of Exchange Act 1949, where the holder of a bill payable to his order transfer is for value without endorsing it, the transferee acquired to the right to have the endorsement of the transferor. So the conclusion in this case, the transferor Sulin recover on the bill.
Okay, today I want to talk about liability of parties. In section 23 Bill of Exchange Act 1949, a person is not liable on a bill unless he has signed it as drawer, acceptor or endorser. Okay, first I want to talk about the drawer. In section 55 subsection 1 Bill of Exchange Act 1949, the drawer of a bill by drawing it promise that on presentation it shall be accepted and paid according to its tenure. If it is dishonored, he will compensate the holder or endorser who has to pay the bill, so long as the required on dishonor was taken. In section 55 subsection 1b Bill of Exchange Act 1949, once he draw a bill, the drawer cannot indue, cause, deny to a holder the existence of the payee and his capacity to endorse. Okay, number 2, the drawer or acceptor. The drawer is the person to whom the bill is addressed. He is liable only when he signed the bill as acceptor. As seen, acceptance is complete when the bill is delivered or when the person entitled to the bill has been notified of the acceptance by the drovee. The acceptor in accepting a bill promise to pay it according to its tenure. Section 55, subsection A. He cannot refuse the payment to a holder in due course on the excuse that the drawer does not exist, or the drawer's signature is fault, or the drawer had no capacity or authority to draw the bill. Okay, number 3 is the endorser. An endorsement is usually effected by signing on the back of the bill. A person endorses a bill in order to transfer it. By endorsing the bill, he promised that the bill, when presented, will be paid in accordance to its tenure, and if it is dishonor, he will compensate the holder or any subsequent endorser who has suffered loss. Okay, number 4, the accommodation party. In section 28, subsection 1, Bill of Exchange Act 1949, the accommodation party is the person who signs a bill as drawer, acceptor, or an endorser without receiving value for it. He does so far the purpose of lending his name to some other person. On the other hand, in section 28, subsection 2, the same act provide that an accommodation party is liable on the bill to a holder for value. Okay, the last one is fictitious and non-existing payees. A fictitious payee is one whom the drawer names as payee, but who is not intended by the drawer to receive payment on the bill. A non-existing payee is the whose non-existing the drawer is unaware of and who is genuinely intended by the drawer to receive payment. Holder of bill. A holder of bill is the person who is in possession of the bill. He may be the payee or an endorsee having possession of it. The bearer of barrier bills. In section 2 of the Bill of Exchange Act 1949, define the word holder as the payee or endorsee of a bill or notes who is in possession of it or the bearer thereof. Okay, we can divide the holder into two. The first is holder in due course, and number 2 is holder for value. The holder in the course in section 29, subsection 1, Bill of Exchange Act 1949 state that a holder in due is a holder who has taken a bill complete and regular on the face of it, under the following condition. Number 1, that he become the holder of it before it was overdue and without notice that it has been previously dishonored, if such was the fact. Condition 2, that he took the bill in good faith and for value that time the bill was negotiated to him. He had no notice of any defect in the title of the person who negotiated it. Every holder of bill is prima facie deemed to be a holder in due course, section 30, subsection 2. Okay, the holder for value. In section 29, subsection 2, Bill of Exchange Act 1914, a holder for value is a holder of bill on which value has at any time been given. He need not give value himself. Okay, the next topic is the payment of Bill of Exchange. A bill must duly presented for payment. If bill is not presented for the payment, the drawer and endorsers shall be discharged according to section 45, subsection 1. This is an important rule. There are many cases where the holder of a bill has lost his rights completely as against the drawer and the endorsers, merely because he failed to observe the very strict rules relating to presentment for payment. Okay, the last topic is dishonor by non-payment. When a bill is presented for payment and payment is refused or cannot be obtained, or when presentment is excused and the bill is overdue or unpaid. It means that the bill has been dishonored by non-payment. It according to section 47 subsection 1 Bill of Exchange Act 1949. In section 48 Bill of Exchange Act 1949 as general rules, when a bill has been dishonored by non-acceptance or non-payment, notice of dishonor will be given to the drawer and each endorser. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Case study, Mr. Han and CIMB Bank. Mr. Han present to CIMB Bank a 50,000 ringgit check drawn on MNO Bank Cross AC Pay only in favor of Han Service Sudan Berhad for the credit of his personal account. CIMB Bank credits Mr. Han account upon the said check being clear. 1 month later, Han Service Sudan Berhad claims for CIMB Bank the sum of 50,000 ringgit. Advise CIMB Bank. CIMB Bank as collecting banker will be liable to the true owner Han Service Sudan Berhad for wrongful conversion since if they has collected improperly on behalf of Mr. Han who was not entitled on the money. Section 85 of the Bill of Exchange Act 1949 affords some protection to the collecting banker. The following 3 elements needs to be proven. Acted for a customer, acted without negligence, acted in good faith. In this case, CIMB Bank has acted negligently in collecting a check made payable to a company for the credit of a personal account. This is especially when the value of the check is substantial. Therefore, CIMB Bank is advised that it is not entitled to the protection of Section 85 of the Bill of Exchange Act 1949 and liable for damage.
Now, let's learn about check. Check refers to a negotiable instrument that contains an unconditional order to the bank to pay a certain sum mentioned in the instrument from the drawer's account to the person to whom it is issued, or to the order of the specific person or the bearer. The characteristic of check is unconditional order in writing. It is signed by the drawer. It is drawn on the banker, which is the drawee. It orders the banker to pay some certain in money on demand, drawn in favor of specific person, which is the payee, or to his order, or in favor of a bearer. Parties to check. Firstly, the drawer, the person who draws the check. For example, the person who signs and orders the bank to pay the sum. Drawee, the bank on which the check is drawn, or who is directed to pay the specific sum written on the check. Payee, the beneficiary. It is to whom the amount is to be paid. Endorser, when a party transfers his right to take the payment to another party, he or she is called endorser. Endorsee, the party in whose favor the right is transferred, is called endorsee. Next, this is a check sample. In a check, you can see a payee. It is either name of individual or company. You can see the drawee's name, which is the name of the bank. You can see a place you can write your date, amount in number, amount in word, and signature of the drawer. If it is drawn by company, then stamp job is necessary. This is the example of check. Okay. Types of check. Firstly, undated check. Bankers are not required to honor undated check. In Section 20 states that a holder can fill up the correct date within a reasonable time and the check can be honored. Overdue check. In Section 36 in bracket 3, an overdue check is one which has been in circulation for an unreasonable length of time. Unreasonable length of time depends on the fact of each case. Stale check. According to current banking practice in Malaysia, a stale check is one which bears a date which is half a year old. If a check is presented before the bank after the expiry of the reasonable period, for example 6 months or more have expired since the date of the check, then it is called stale check. Post-dated check. When a check is drawn containing a future date, it is called post-dated check. In such cases, money will not be payable by the bank before that date. The banker would return the check to the customer in order that he may present it later when it becomes due. Forged check. A check where the drawer's signature is forged. In Section 24, where a signature on a bill is forged, the forged signature is wholly inoperative unless the customer is stopped or is precluded from setting up the forgery. cross check. This check has two transverse parallel lines at the top left corner of the check, which may or may not have the words ACPE or non-negotiable. The banking banker must pay the amount of the check only to collecting banker named in the crossing. There are two types of crossing. First, general crossing. If you see a word non-negotiable or ACPE only written between the cross, it is general crossing. For special crossing, the name of the bank is written between the cross. Now, we will take a look at alteration on a check. If a check has been materially altered without the drawer's authority, the drawer will be discharged from liability. If the bank pays on such check, the bank cannot debit the customer's account. However, customer must exercise due care in drawing checks to avoid fraud. Protection of the paying banker. Paying banker or drawing bank is the bank where a customer draws a check on it. The duty of a paying banker is to pay the right person according to the customer's mandate. If the bank pays to a wrong person, the bank must bear the loss. The BEA provides protection to the paying banker if payment is due course. In Section 59, a bearer is not liable if the banker pays a check in due course by or on behalf of the drawee or acceptor. Payment in due course means payment made at or after maturity of the bill to the holder in good faith and without notice that his title to the check is defective. Next, if no endorsement or irregular endorsement. In Section 82, the paying banker is protected if he pays a check which is not endorsed or is irregularly endorsed in good faith and in the ordinary course of business. Next, in forged or unauthorized endorsement. In Section 16, if the banker pays in good faith and in the ordinary course of business a check drawn on him which bears a forged or unauthorized endorsement, he is not prejudiced by the forgery. For example, A draws a check on Credit Bank Berhad in favor of B. It is stolen by C, who forged B's endorsement and negotiates it to D, who in turn negotiates it to E, who obtains the payment from the bank. If the bank pays in good faith in the ordinary course of business, the bank will not be prejudiced by the forgery. Lastly, for cross-check. In Section 80, if the paying banker pays a cross-check in good faith without negligence and according to the crossing, he is not liable. For example, Amy draws a check on Bank Y Berhad in favor of Betty in order to repay a friendly loan. On receiving the check, Betty crossed it generally. The check is stolen by Katie, who goes into Bank Z Berhad and pretending to be Betty, open an account in Betty's name. Bank Z Berhad presents the check to Bank Y Berhad, who pays in good faith and without negligence. Bank Y Berhad is not liable to Betty by virtue of Section 8. Now, we will take a look on protection of the collecting banker. Collecting banker is the bank to whom a holder of a check presents the check for the credit of his account. Its duty is to collect the amount stated in the check from the paying banker. If the collecting bank fails to collect the amount as instructed by the customer, the collecting banker will be liable for breach of contract. The BEA gives protection for the collecting banker in Section 85. If a banker in a good faith and without negligence receives payment of a check for a customer with no title or a defective title, he is not liable to the true owner. To get this protection, the collecting bank must prove the following. First, the collecting banker acts for the customer. Second, the collecting banker acts in good faith. And third, the collecting banker acts without negligence. If the act is done in good faith, though negligently, the bank will not be protected. The test of negligence is stated in Marfadin & Co. Ltd v Midland Bank Ltd. The court will have to look at the circumstance of the case complaint, time of the act complained of, and whether it is reasonable for banker to possess such information that a reasonable banker should have, as to suspect that the customer is not the true owner of the check. From decided case, courts have held collecting banker negligent in not making proper inquiries. Lastly, termination of a banker's authority to pay. A banker is under a duty to honor payment of his customer's check up to the amount of his credit balance or any agreed overdraft. If the banker wrongfully refuses to honor a check, the customer can claim damage for wrongful return of the check.
Case study, Mrs. Wong and Bank Besar Berhad. Mrs. Wong maintained a current account with Bank Besar Berhad. Unknown to Mrs. Wong, her husband Mr. Wong forwarded Mrs. Wong's signature on a cash check amount 10,000 ringgit. 2 months later, Mrs. Wong insists that Bank Besar Berhad must credit back her account for the amount of 10,000 ringgit while Mrs. Wong disappeared. In this case, is Bank Besar Berhad responsible for 10,000 ringgit? Bank Besar Berhad may be found liable for the 10,000 ringgit in the event if Mrs. Wong's signature is found to be really false. According to Section 24 of the Bill of Exchange Act 1949, the forged signature of the drawer of a check is wholly inoperative, so the bank may have to credit the amount 10,000 back into the account. However, Mrs. Wong may not be able to recover the 10,000 ringgit if first, the forged signature is effective and the check is accordingly good for payment doctrine of its purpose. Second, the bank can prove that Mrs. Wong knowingly and negligently contribute to the forgery.